name is Daniel, and if anyone finds this recording, I need you to understand something before anything else. I'm not myself anymore, not in any way that matters. Something is changing me, inside, outside, in ways I can't understand. I don't have much time left before the last pieces of me melt into whatever it wants me to be. But maybe if I tell you everything, the whole story, you'll know how to stop this from happening to someone else. It all started 2 months ago in a little place called Ashridge Hollow, the kind of small town that appears on a map only so the cartographer can feel complete. You wouldn't go there unless you were lost or running from something. I guess I was doing both. I didn't plan to stop in that town. My car chose it for me. The engine sputtered the whole way down the mountain road, coughing like it had caught the same flu I was trying to outrun from my life in the city. I'd left behind my job I didn't care about, an apartment that I hated, and a relationship I'd sabotaged all on my own. My life had been full of the kind of mistakes people think are dramatic when they're young and pathetic when they're older. I was the latter. So when the engine finally gave out at the sign that said, "Welcome to Ashridge Hollow, population 237, I figured maybe I deserved that. I coasted onto the shoulder, let the car roll to a dead stop, and stepped out. Something felt wrong the moment my shoes hit the dirt. The air tasted metallic, like the smell you get when you put your tongue on a battery as a kid. A low hum buzzed somewhere buried beneath the wind, something I couldn't identify then. Later, I'd realize it was the sound of a town rotting from the inside. The only gas station in Ashridge Hollow looked like it had once been a shed someone decided to fill with oil instead of tools. It leaned a little to the left, as if gravity was slowly winning a decades-long argument. Inside, behind a counter stacked with sun-faded magazines, sat a woman who looked far too pale to be healthy. Her eyes were cloudy, but sharp when they landed on me. "Car trouble?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Engine died just outside of town." She didn't blink. "They tend to do that." I frowned. "Engines?" "No. People." I waited for her to laugh, but she didn't. Her name tag said Marlene, though the letters were cracked and peeling like dead skin. "There's a mechanic a few streets over," she said, sliding a scrap of paper toward me. "He doesn't talk much. Don't mind that. He's had a hard year." "Thanks," I said. As I stepped toward the door, she added, "And don't stay after dark." I paused. "Why?" Her expression tightened into something like fear, or maybe memory. "Because the night makes the hollow hungry." The mechanic's shop was a concrete building with no sign, no windows, and a garage door that looked like it had been punched inward by something huge. When I walked in, the mechanic, an older man with hands that looked like dried rivers of scar tissue, didn't look up. "You're not from here," he said. "Car died," I replied. "Marlene said you could help." He wiped his hands on a rag, They used to be white and nodded toward my car.
Push it in. I'll take a look.
By myself? I asked. That made him lift his head. His eyes were bloodshot, rimmed with red, like he hadn't slept in days.
If you stay too long,
He muttered.
you'll learn to do most things by yourself.
I didn't know what he meant then. I would soon. It took me 10 sweaty minutes to push the car inside. When I finally got in place, the mechanic leaned over the hood.
Did you hear it?
He asked suddenly. Hear what?
The whisper.
Before I could answer, he slammed the hood shut and stepped back.
Your engine's gone.
He said flatly. Gone?
Melted.
He said.
Like someone poured acid through it.
That doesn't make any sense, I argued. It was fine this morning. The mechanic stared at the closed garage door, his face hollow.
Nothing stays fine in Ash Ridge Hollow.
Then he added, almost in a whisper.
You need to leave before it notices you.
I would have left if I could have, but without a car, no buses, and no decent cell signal, I was stuck. So I checked into the only place that pretended to be an inn, a 2-story house run by a man named Gregor, who somehow managed to smell like both soup and sweat. The room he gave me had one bed, one lamp, and a wallpaper peeling like scabs. That night, I woke up to a burning sensation in my arm. I rolled up my sleeve and froze. Something was moving under my skin. Just a ripple, a wave like a muscle twitch, except deeper. Wrong. Alive. I touched it and felt something jerk away. I told myself it had to be a spasm, or maybe even a fever dream. That's what normal people think. That's what people who haven't been touched by something unnatural convince themselves of. But then the whisper came. So soft, I almost mistook it for the wind. But there was no wind. It wasn't outside. It was inside me. A single word. Daniel. The next morning, my arm was normal. No movement, no whisper. But the skin felt colder than the rest of me. I went looking for a doctor, and the townspeople reluctantly pointed me toward a building that looked abandoned. Inside, I found Dr. Ivers, a man with a face that sagged downward, as if gravity was trying to peel him.
What do you feel?
He asked after I explained the symptoms. I don't know, I admitted. Something moved, like a worm under my skin. He nodded too quickly.
Yes, that happens.
That happens, I repeated. He motioned for me to sit.
This town has environmental effects. The mines underground, the water supply, the air density.
Cut the crap, I snapped. Something is in me. His shoulders slumped.
I hope you weren't far enough along yet.
My blood turned cold. Far enough along yet for what? He opened a drawer. Inside were jars, each containing a small, writhing, dark red organism. They twitched when I looked at them.
These were people once.
According to Dr. Ivers, 50 years ago, something was uncovered during the expansion of the mines. Something that should never have been touched. A chamber deep beneath the town. A living chamber.
It wasn't rock,
He said.
it pulsed when struck. It bled when broken.
The miners thought they'd discovered some bizarre geological formation. Then the first sickness began. People complained of whispers, movement in their bodies, nightmares that weren't theirs. The chamber had awakened.
Everyone who lives here is infected,
Dr. Ivers said.
We slow the changes as best as we can.
And me? I asked. He looked at my arm.
You've been claimed.
A cold sweat broke across my skin. What does that mean?
It means
He said softly.
you belong to it now, and it wants you home.
The changes came fast after that. My skin pulsed in places where there shouldn't be veins. Colors looked wrong, too sharp, too bright, like the world was stretching. The whisper came more often now.
Daniel, come back.
Sometimes it was a woman's voice, sometimes a child's. Sometimes it was my own voice, echoing in ways that I couldn't understand. It made me nauseous. And sometimes it didn't use words at all, just breathing, heavy, wet, inside my head, inside my body. One night, Gregor, the innkeeper, banged on my door. When I opened it, his face was pale and dripping with sweat.
It wants you.
He whispered.
It wants you bad.
What does?
The hollow, he said. The thing beneath. You're hearing it, aren't you?
I nodded. Gregor trembled.
You need to go. You need to run before it roots deeper.
My car is dead, I reminded him. He swallowed hard.
Then you need to climb down the mountain on foot. Don't look back. Don't listen when it calls.
Why are you helping me? His eyes welled with tears.
Because I stayed,
He said. Then he lifted his shirt. His torso was covered in black, pulsing veins that moved on their own.
I stayed.
He repeated, voice breaking.
And now I belong to it.
I packed in minutes. The mountains loomed over the town, a jagged escape route. The path was steep, rocky, and unmarked, but it didn't matter. I needed to leave. As I climbed, the air grew thick, heavy, like inhaling someone else's breath. Shadows moved between the trees. I told myself it was just nerves. Then the whisper came again.
Daniel, come down.
I ignored it. It grew louder.
Daniel, stop.
My legs weakened. My vision split around the edges. Something crawled up my spine. Inside it. I screamed and kept climbing, but the whisper wasn't alone now. Footsteps followed me. Slow, wet, dragging. I didn't look. Gregor told me not to look. But curiosity is a powerful thing. I turned, and I shouldn't have. It was Gregor, or what used to be Gregor. His body was bent and twisted, his limbs too long and too thin, like someone had stretched him out on a rack. Veins wrapped around his skin like black vines. His eyes were all pupil.
Daniel.
He reached out a shaking hand, not to grab me, to beg.
Help.
But behind him, stepping out from between the trees, were more. People whose bodies were warped by whatever lived beneath Ash Ridge Hollow. People whose bones didn't bend the right way. Whose mouths opened too wide, revealing teeth that looked grown rather than formed. The Taken, and they were following me, not to kill me, to bring me back. I ran. Branches tore at my arms, slicing through the skin like it was soft wax. My muscles burned, my lungs felt heavy, and the thing inside me pulsed like a second heart. I didn't get far. My foot caught on a root, and I went sprawling down the slope. The world became a blur of leaves and dirt and pain. I didn't stop until I hit rock, hard, and then everything went dark. When I woke, I expected to be dead. Instead, I was in a bed. Soft sheets, clean air, the bright light overhead. For a moment, I thought I'd been rescued. Then I saw the walls, the texture. It wasn't drywall. It was like flesh, pale, translucent, and veined. The lights overhead weren't bulbs. They were glowing sacks. I sat up and screamed. The room echoed back, not with sound, but with a pulse, like a heartbeat. I was inside some sort of chamber, a living chamber. Ash Ridge Hollow's womb, if you will. And it had brought me home. The chamber wasn't empty. Shapes pressed against the walls from the inside. Human shapes. Some screaming without mouths. Some crying without eyes. A voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Daniel. I clutched my head, but it didn't help. Why are you running? It asked. I don't belong here. I shouted. You do? It whispered. You came to us. You were lost, empty, hollow. That doesn't mean you need purpose. We give purpose. Something touched my foot. I looked down. A tendril, thin, glistening, and pulsating, had wrapped around my ankle. I tried to kick it away. It tightened with a firm grasp. More tendrils slid from beneath the fleshy door, curling around my legs, my arms, and my chest. Stop! I screamed. A shadow began forming in front of me, rising from the floor like a figure wading up through a membrane. A woman's shape, then a man's, then a child's. Constantly shifting, constantly wrong. We are many, and now so are you. The pain that followed wasn't pain in the normal sense. It wasn't sharp or burning. It was rewriting. My bones went soft. My veins thickened. My skin became translucent like wax. I felt new organs forming inside me. Things that pulsed and curled and whispered. The tendrils held me while my body changed shape, while my mind stretched thin like melting plastic. Memories dissolved, new ones formed. For a moment, I saw from the perspective of something ancient and massive, buried beneath miles of earth. Something alive, something hungry. And then it stopped. I collapsed to the floor, gasping. My body felt wrong. Too light in places, too heavy in others. And inside me, the whisper was no longer a whisper. It was a voice, clear, loud. We are inside you, it said, and you are inside us. I don't know how long I laid there. Hours, maybe days. The chamber didn't have time the way we understand it. But eventually, something changed. Footsteps. Human footsteps. And then a familiar voice. Daniel? I looked up. Dr. Ivor stood at the entrance of the fleshy corridor, breathing hard. You're still yourself? You resisted longer than anyone else. I wanted to speak, to tell him it was too late. But when I opened my mouth, two voices came out. Mine and its. Ivor's flinched, but stepped closer. I can get you out, he said. But you need to fight it. Fight what's inside you. I tried. God, I tried. But the chamber pulsed, and the voice inside me hissed.
Stay.
I felt myself slipping, my mind stretching, my body shifting. Ivers reached for me, and I made a decision. Not a good one, not a heroic one, a human one. I reached back, and I ran. The chamber screamed when I left, an earthquake of flesh and sound. Tendrils lashed behind us as Ivers pulled me through a narrow tunnel. My changing body scraped against the sides. My skin tore while new skin formed. My vision flickered in and out like a dying fluorescent bulb. But I kept running. Up through tunnels that weren't tunnels. Up through veins. Up through living stone. Until finally, we burst into the cold night air. I collapsed on the ground, sobbing. The stars overhead looked wrong. Too bright, too many. Ivers knelt beside me.
You're not whole,
He said.
but you're free enough. You need to leave tonight.
I nodded. He handed me a pack, water, and a map.
Go north.
He said,
Don't stop. Don't let it call you back.
"What about you?" He shook his head.
This is my prison and my penance.
Then he turned back toward the mine, and I left Ash Ridge Hollow behind. That was 2 months ago. I've been changing ever since, slowly and quietly. The voice inside me is patient, but louder now. I see things moving under my skin again. I hear breathing behind walls, even when I'm alone. Sometimes when I sleep, I dream about that chamber. Do I miss it? Am I yearning for it? Is it my home? Sometimes when I'm awake, it's all the same. I don't have much time left. That's why I'm telling you this. That's why I'm recording everything. There are towns like Ash Ridge Hollow scattered everywhere. Little forgotten places with old wounds underneath them. And some of those wounds want to stay open. If I disappear, don't look for me. If I change, don't try to save me. And if you hear a whisper in the night saying your name, for God's sake, don't answer it.